Welcome to Hank's Place, where I've been reading the book of James. James is an unusual book because, unlike the other epistles, it was written to the 12 tribes dispersed abroad, not to Gentile Christians. That's James 1:1. Some of the Jews were messianic, but many were still in need of Jesus. James knew he had two very different audiences for his letter, so no wonder this book sounds so different from the others. My point for today comes from the 4th chapter. There James begins describing worldly behavior. Must be for those unbelievers, right? But then he says, you do not have because you do not ask. You ask and you do not receive because you ask with the wrong motives, so that you may spend what you request on your pleasures. Well, is he correcting believers now? Well, why are they not asking? He says they don't ask because, well, really, they're too proud. They say, I've got this, but they don't. I can do this, but they can't. I don't need God. Oh, yes, they do. Or if they do ask, it's only for selfish reasons, so they don't receive. Well, now verse 4. You adulteresses, he says, do you not know that friendship with the world is hostility toward God? Whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Is he reaching out to Jews or unbelievers or both? The passage goes on to speak of the greater grace God gives. Grace not for the proud, grace for the humble. To get this grace, we submit to God and resist the devil, who is tempting us to be friends with this world. A friend of the world doesn't have to be a murderous cretin. It could be a Christian, but someone who makes life choices from a worldly point of view instead of walking by faith, relying upon human effort and knowledge instead of resting in God's grace. As I pondered this, I realized I've been there, thinking God could really use me because I had certain talents and abilities and knowledge. Imagine wanting to help God out with what I'd learned from the world and then running ahead without checking in with him. My friend, that's a form of misinformed pride, leaving God out of our helping God out thinking. It's not that we have to fall on our faces and pray until we hear a voice from heaven about every decision, but it is about asking him for wisdom and understanding and heaven's knowledge, and then having a listening ear for his replies. That's what James is referring to in verse 6. But he gives a greater grace. If you've already made a mess, it's not too late. Don't reach for the fig leaves of, I can fix this, thinking, but acknowledge those mistakes and humbly ask God for his grace. His grace is extravagant. His grace causes us to come alive.